a big part of the history of the city. And as far as the other clubs, it's part of the history of the country, of women wishing to improve their communities. It says something in the Bibles about having a generous spirit toward the community. But it was reaching beyond themselves to improve the lives of others. They were part of the Federation of Women's Club from the beginning, because I guess they somewhat controlled the agenda for what the women did. Their interest in child labor laws, their interest in, of course, suffrage and all kinds of women's matters.
If you had means, you did not have to work. But then you're bored at home. So clubs were becoming popular in the late 1800s, and it gave them a chance to have their own thoughts, to debate, to get involved, and try to fix problems. Like the first well baby clinic was here at the Iris Club, and the Red Cross being here. They just wanted to do good work to support women because I think they felt there was a need.
They met at the home of Alice Nevin. She was the founder and first president, the daughter of the John Williamson Nevin, president of Franklin Marshall College. And her home was on Lancaster Avenue. I still don't know how 100 women fit into that home. I think they must have staggered it, and gone every so many hours to sign their names, but the 100 of them did sign the charter. And on the charter, they also had the seal of incorporation for the state of Pennsylvania. So they formed a club, but they didn't have a meeting place. They met at the YMCA on Orange Street. They met at the chapel of the Moravian Church across the street on Orange Street. They tried to purchase several properties, one on King Street. They were turned down. Then in 1897, they purchased this house for $14,500 from the Black family. The first owner of the house was Mrs. Porter, the widow of the first governor of Michigan, and she was from Lancaster, and he was a general in the War of 1812. And I'm always thinking that the fact that a woman, he passed away in Michigan, and she built the house in 1840. I think that the fact that it was a woman's house might have been a mitigating factor to selling the club to women. Then they did renovations over the years, and adding finally the ballroom in 1955.
You know, from the outside, it just looks like a building, and then you walk inside and you're like in a fairyland. It's just beautiful.
It's a step into the past, and just approaching it from a filmmaking point of view, and it was like, oh my goodness, we could pass off this room from like anywhere from the 30s into like the 50s or 60s. You could pass off this from the 1800s and all the way. There's like all these decades that you could portray, and we just fell in love with this building, and we thought, wow, how amazing would it be to shoot here, to film the whole thing in here. And everybody was so fantastic. Chris, Priscilla, Betty. I mean, we got connected to the leadership of the Iris Club, and they were so fantastic. They were so generous with allowing us to bring equipment in here, and it's a lot of gear, it's a lot of equipment, and there's lights everywhere, and there's people everywhere. They were super generous with letting us really utilize different spaces in here.
There's so many artist groups, whether they're, writers or they're musicians or, anything, authors, anything. And I just feel like this is a beautiful space to have an opening event, whether it's for visual artists or performing artists or, I keep saying art, but people do interesting things. So there's all sorts of things that could come and partake in this beautiful space. And people, it's a lovely place to come in.
The arts were always important. As I said, Blanche was the first woman known sculptress in the United States, her sister of Alice. And Alice was a choir master and organist who was at Santee Chapel, at Franklin Marshall Theological Seminary and also at St. Luke's UCC Church. And Blanche brought her artist friends from Philadelphia, the Gang of 10, and then they had these traveling exhibits of the women coming to sell their paintings in Lancaster and exhibiting them here. So that I find that filmmaking is an extension of the arts, another dimension. We also have always had dancing. We have had a ballet school in this room. That's why the mirrors were put in. They've always had the Barclay classes for young people to learn dancing, and we have the Indigo Blue group that meets on First Fridays. And so the filmmaking is an extension of the arts, as far as I'm concerned, and most welcome.